Hi, everybody, and welcome to Stimming and Stilettos with Dr. Tasha. So we had uh, Dr. say it,
Rosas Vargas.
Rosas Vargas on with us a couple of weeks ago, and today we're doing the part two. So I don't know if you guys were, but I'm intrigued. So and and I'm infinitely curious, and it may just be my nerdy brain that's going into overdrive, but I know that there's a story here. So I invited I invited Dr. Daisy back so we could discover it and talk it all the way through. So hi and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
It was a no-brainer for me. It just was a
I
no-brainer.
loved our conversation last time. So I feel like, yeah, definitely probably required more conversation.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so like I've said, this is a conversation. It's not an inquisition. I don't really think that that gets us anywhere. It's a conversation. But what we didn't necessarily talk about before, because we got sidetracked, but I was totally into that conversation. Um, but I really do want to hear more about your story, especially how you ended up in, higher ed, what your research is about, and wherever that takes us. So
Mhm.
I will turn it over to you. I'm here.
Yeah, my higher ed experience, I think, was pretty unique, along with probably several other people that probably were in similar situations around the country. Because I started in fall of 2019, so
Oh,
right before the pandemic.
wow.
So I had a semester, a normal semester, then a half semester because we weren't allowed to be in person after spring break, and then a semester of being fully online. That was fall 2020. We did a hybrid version spring 2021, and then I think we were back in person slash hybrid fall of 2021. So it would, yeah. And then let's see. So that means 2022 to 2023, that was all mostly normal. So yeah, I taught for 4 years actually. So I was in that type of environment for 4 years. So it was very interesting. Um, I think obviously like what we went through in general is like the experiences, the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I also saw it as maybe like some things I wouldn't have noticed had the pandemic not happened. So yeah, and
Agreed.
it was like a little bit of I don't want to call it eye-opening, but there was like, there were like little stop signs and like little flags going up where I was like, huh, it made me really stop and think. They're like, this is probably not the best environment for me
Mm.
and probably just not the best um like long-term place I think I would want to stay in based off of, the pandemic things that like arose internally within what was happening like at the school. But yeah.
So what do you, okay, so I guess, yes, I have questions. Um, so one, I want to go back and sort of dive a little bit deeper into what your experience was like going, into it and then being
Mhm.
in the midst of it and then coming out the other side of it. It's like you had kind of three different experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I always thought of it as two. Like I just mostly saw the beginning and like the middle and the end. I chunked them together. But I think you're right. It is probably like three experiences. Um, so yeah, like I mentioned, I started August of 2019 and it was
Well,
a
okay,
good,
let
oh,
me let me preface this only because
okay.
I really want to get clear at like what were the expectations when you started the program And then how
Yeah.
did they switch or flip or change in the midst of all of the things that were happening as it related to COVID? And then at the end of it, like what were like some of the your walkaways? Like these are the things
Mhm.
that I'm like, okay, I know I don't want to do. I know that I do. I appreciated this. I never want to see that again ever, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. So I came in as a teaching professor. So I would only teach. I wouldn't do research, which is
Right.
something, is something that I was looking for in generally in a position when I was like looking at jobs as I was wrapping up my PhD. It's like I was definitely interested in the teaching. I enjoyed research, but I think I enjoyed teaching much more than that. And I knew if I wanted to be a professor, like you're kind of divided mostly into the research, teaching, and
Yep.
service aspect.
Yeah.
But I really wanted my teaching and my service to be like this bigger chunk in my what I wanted to do eventually.
Hmm.
Um, and we were, I think at that time we were, I think a group, what is it? A faculty of 10.
Okay.
So pretty, I would say large-ish for a small school. Because I know some schools like are usually like somewhere in between like the 6 and 7 range.
Uh,
Um, and I would be teaching these classes, these small classes, which was like nice, also something I wanted, because you can get that interface interaction with the students a lot more than if, you're teaching to 300 students, like per lecture.
yeah.
And our lab sizes were small, or at least they wanted to be small. Um, and then the pandemic hit. So it was, all we're trained to do is kind of teach in person. So it
Mhm.
was like, okay, I gotta like pivot. I gotta try to find a way to teach this material. So, like, in the span of 2 weeks, I had to teach myself how to do like video editing, video voiceovers, using like Adobe Premiere. Uh, so I walked away with that skill set.
Oh, they didn't
Um,
start you off small, then they started you pro. Is it? Wow. Okay.
well, we had access to it. So I was like, okay, why not take advantage of this? And probably it's the system that I personally like to work with.
Yeah.
Um, and then, teaching was still a priority, but then we also had these other things happen during COVID, right? We had the George Floyd movement, we've had Black Lives Matter, we had obviously the pandemic and like the fears and um, this like what do I want to call it? A like aggression towards like Asian people, blaming them, they were responsible for this, etc. And so that kind of, creeped its way in where I started noticing things where, I had students of color come up to me and tell me, "Hey, I experienced XYZ."
Mhm.
And, because this was only probably my second or third semester, I was like, okay, I need to figure out like where do I go to guide the student to either one, report it, or where can they find some resources, etc. And I kind of was left with like, oh, you have to contact this so and so person because I don't know anything about it. Or, oh, no, I don't think, racism can exist on this campus. Um,
Interesting.
yeah. And I was like, okay. I was like, that was not what I was expecting.
Right.
Um,
Why did they do you why do you think they said that? Because there was this belief that because the campus was smaller or because
that
of the people or like what was
I
that?
I think it was a mixture of the campus was smaller, that this was like a little blue bubble. But I'm like, I went to a school in a big blue bubble state, and I'm like, there was still racism on campus. Like, I think independent of where a school is in the country, like it
Right.
is there.
Well, I think you and I would
Yeah.
agree
Yeah.
on that. Okay, so tell me this, like, so what if once you had that experience or that happened in your class, so I can just tell you from my experience, and then I want to ask you from yours, when those things have occurred, when I was actually on a college campus. I was a program director, I mean teacher, but program
Mhm.
director also. So it was a matter of, well, who do I go? What are the procedures? All of those, the same questions that you were asking are the questions to be asked. But like they didn't they didn't really know. There was no, I don't there was a policy, I will say that. Our college had a policy, but it wasn't well known, right? And so when I asked for it, they directed me to it and it was very vague, right? There were no action points, you would say. Like if this
Yes.
occurs,
Yes.
then you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, well, this doesn't help. And it sort of leaves you in this, or in my place, it left me with this. There were two feelings. One was like the constant thought in my head was, I have to do something, right?
Hmm.
But there was also this unease because there was no policy. So you're kind of sort of left out there, like, what can I do? Um, and I wanted to honor the student who was brave enough, to speak up and say, hey, this occurred or this happened to me. But because everything was so vague, I kept asking, and it was like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And it's like, yeah, but when this happened today or last week or
Hmm.
whenever. And it's like we can't tell the students like, oh, just wait to have your experience validated
Validated or
and
something. Exactly.
dealt with, right? What? So that was my experience. What was yours?
Yeah, it was kind of similar. You can report it as a bias report. There was like an actual page, but like it took me a while to find it. Like I had to use Google instead of using the actual like school platform. And then all it said was like, it asked for like your name, the date that it occurred, like what happened, what type of interaction was it with student to faculty, etc., right? But then there was no like what happens next, like after this form gets filled out. There was like nothing on the website. So then I set up like an appointment with someone to walk me through the process. And it came out that something can only be done if the person decides to not do it anonymously. And I was like, I can't do that.
Oh
I was
no.
like, well, this is ridiculous. I was like, what am I supposed to be telling the students? Um, yeah, and so it was definitely hard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like you
what
said,
did
you're in
you
this two headspace. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the question I want to ask you. So like there is you, the professor, but then there's Daisy.
Hmm. Yeah.
Talk me through that.
Yeah, it was uh as the professor, I'm like, okay, there is something there we can do. I will guide you through it. And like I even made a little chart that I would have to show the students like, okay, this is what it like this is the what the process would look like.
Yeah.
And like there's like arrows for depending like you know, where you want to release information. So I'm like, okay, at least there's that. But then me as Daisy was like, this is just like another hurdle, another obstacle. And I'm like, okay, like what happens if it's like, um, what do I want to say? Like, what happens if it's not just student to student? Like, I had a case where a teacher had made a comment about the students, like, um, family,
Ooh.
let's say, because so it was like apparently it was some assignment and they had to do a tree diagram, like, kind of to show like hereditary traits and stuff like that. But the student was not, they did not come from traditional family. They were adopted. And
Okay.
they do not know that information. And the student told me that the professor had said, "Oh, just write whatever you want. It doesn't matter."
Mm, okay. What?
And yeah, and so like again, I when I walked the student through this process, I was like, the only way for something to actually happen would be for you, the student, to not make this anonymous. Like you have to submit that yes, you want um, to just go beyond just reporting this incident.
Mm. And therein lies the dilemma
Yeah.
because like, as students, like you remember, well, we remember being a student and
Hmm.
it's like you didn't really cross your professors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like even if you were thinking about it, it 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 just was like it was really hard, right? Because there's still an authority figure, right?
Yeah.
So there's a level of whether you were trying to or not, there's this level of intimidation there in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So then you're in the middle of it, and that's like
Yeah.
when
That's
2020 was
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
2021, right? So you're in the
Yes.
thick of the thing. Like your COVID's happening. People
Yes.
are getting sick. People are not, recovering. The world there were crazy accusations thrown out there
Yes.
about what it was and what it wasn't, and then how to solve it, how to cure it. All of those things were happening in the midst of all of that.
Yeah.
Wow. And okay, so in the midst of all of this, like you're teaching, but are you in classes?
Uh, y- yes, we were teaching. Well, I guess after our 1.5 semesters of um what is it, online teaching, then we kind of went into this hybrid in person before we went like fully back in person.
Well, no,
Um,
I'm saying were you in classes? Like
oh
you were
no, no,
so
no,
you
no.
were you in the what were in the writing stage doing research? What were you doing?
Oh no, I was like fully on a professor. Just
Oh,
like
okay,
yeah, I
okay,
was
got
done.
it, got it,
Yeah,
got it, got it,
yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, man, that would have been crazy.
I am so glad I defended before 2020. I know several people from my cohort that defended or they had to postpone like their thesis because of COVID. So
Yeah, I can't
I can't imagine.
imagine what that would it was hard enough being in education in any way, shape, or form
Oh
during that
yeah.
time, having to make the switch and the change. And I just recall my I think I told you my whole family are teachers, and literally, like you said, had to turn it around in a 2 week time span. And it was really hard. I don't think people really understand how difficult that was for a classroom teacher or a college professor to go from teaching fully in person every day or every other day, whatever it
Hmm.
is, to being online full time. Like the
Yeah.
the ask was a lot. And people are like, oh, we do it all the time. We're online all the time. We're doing all the things. And I was like, but you're not teaching, right? That is a different
Yeah.
framework. It is a different mindset. It's a different delivery method. Um, and the things that you would normally do inside a classroom, it's hard or difficult, or it takes a different mindset to be able to deliver that content
Hmm.
online. And
Yeah.
just teachers don't get enough credit for the turnaround.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all are incredible to me. To me. So, okay, so what was give me your, and if you don't have them, that's fine. Give me your two, three biggest takeaways.
Well, from that, I think my biggest takeaways is uh professors deserve a lot more credit than they get. Um, yeah. Um, uh, I guess I also took away that um, it's very hard for me to separate my identity in terms of I want to help students and apart from just like just being their professor.
Mm.
Um, which I thought I would be able to keep separate, but due to the circumstances, that did not happen. And let's see, another one. Um, uh, uh, um, I think I just have to stick with two because I can't think of a third one, but there's
Yeah.
definitely at least two takeaways. Yeah.
So okay, so I do have a question then. If you, I don't want to take you back there, but like, what would you do differently?
I So I don't think I would do anything differently because I remember I really kind of pushed like, well, why does this have to be anonymous or not why does this have to be not anonymous for something to actually go through? So I was kind of pushing a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would do that differently, because it calls to attention that um I know during my time there, I definitely submitted a bunch of bias reports, whether of like stuff that I was like seeing, so I don't regret that at all. Um,
Well, what did it teach you about? I want to say the education system, but it's only one faction of it, one
yeah.
section of it. But what did you walk away knowing that you know? Or that's one question. But like, what? Yeah, I'll stay there for right now.
So I was also talking to other colleagues at like other places, and
Hmm.
like their systems are much more different, where there's actually a bit more talk conversations going on between the administration and the professors. Uh, so I think what I got from it is like, this is apparently what's happening at this specific institution. It's not, I would say, universal to all institutions. Um, so I'm like, okay, there is a better place somewhere else that has a better system for this. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's better, or they're trying to make it better. So that in some way actually gave me a little bit of hope. So I'm like, okay, someone somewhere else, if they ever have an issue, like, you know, there's a system there to help the students or help whoever is submitting a report.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So, okay. Okay. Well, then, okay. What was your next step? So, COVID has come and gone. You're teaching. You're still teaching there.
Yes, I'm
What
still
happened
teaching there. Then it was just tiny little things. I don't want to call, oh, this shouldn't be little. I don't know why we always talk about them as little. There were microaggressions. Let me just
next?
like blatantly say that.
Mm-hmm.
And uh I was just like keeping track of them, and I'm like, you know what? I don't see this like working. I don't see myself being in this type of environment. And like I think right in the middle of actually right after COVID, the school laid off about a third of the faculty. So this like there was this huge instability. So that was always there in the back of my mind. Because I was like, okay, financially, probably it's not in the best state. um, you know, uh, this is probably not a good sign for the future. Um, and so it was like that, some microaggressions, um, and there were other faculty members in my department that had also had very similar experiences too. And actually that led us to, we actually both left
Oh,
at the
wow.
same time. Yeah. That person had been there for much longer. I had only been there for 4 years,
Yeah.
um, but we left.
And then, so where'd you end? Well, not where did you end up? You ended up at another, where
I
did you go?
I decided to move back to California.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, this
Yeah.
is where you moved to California. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So, would you go back? Would you teach again? Do you teach?
I I I wanted to give myself a break from teaching because of the experiences that I had. Now that a couple about 2 years have gone by since I left. No, three? Two. I can do math. I think it's two.
I think.
I think it's two. Yes, it's two. Um, I definitely miss it, but I do still do some, I would say, informal teaching,
Mhm.
whether that's in like workshops for like the current soil science that I do. Um, I still do like volunteer, talking about, what's my STEM journey is.
Yeah.
So I still get those opportunities to teach, whether it's not, it's not in a formal setting. Um, but I still tap into that part of me. Would I go back? I would go back, yes, but I would definitely ask a lot of questions. And I know what to look out for. And I know that supportive departments and schools exist. It just happened to be that I was not at one.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh man. I unfortunately I can relate. I can relate. Um, and I feel like I want to give credit. I don't know why, but like, because there's a part of me that says, or at least for the organization that I was at, I don't know if they knew any better, right? Um, or I could just be giving them too much credit and they knew better and just didn't care. And that just, I missed that whole thing. But there's a part of me that says it wasn't a consideration before. Um, Even though I worked at an organization or I worked at a community college that was predominantly minority, and I mean really minority, to the
Hmm.
point to where we had, and this may still be true, but like the corridor where the college is located, they call it the international corridor, because
Hmm.
we had more international students than
Hmm.
anybody else. Um, and because we had a lot of refugees and people who were taking political asylum or like
Hmm.
asylum in place, and they would settle in this area because they had other people,
Yeah.
they had family members or cousins or people from their home or back their home country who lived on this like 4 mile long road. um, and I'm talking like whole compounds of like Sudanese and
Hmm.
Ethiopians and people who were from, some of the Arab nations. And, it was like all of them,
Hmm.
and so I want to say that I want to give them the benefit of doubt and saying that, like one of those, when you know better, you do better. Um, but maybe that's still, those are still my blinders. I don't know.
Yeah. I was at an institution where it was primarily white.
Mm. Ah, got it.
Yeah. But a lot of our students came from like the nearby bigger cities where, there is more diversity. Um, and yeah, I was always having conversations with the students and, they would feel comfortable talking to me about things, their experiences, that they've either had with like fellow students or with their professors. And it was nice to be there for the students, but it was just, was not expecting like that there would be so many issues.
Well, okay, so the question is like, did you not expect it, or did you not expect how you would feel about it? And like where, you know what I mean? Like
How
there's
I would feel about it.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely the how I would feel about it.
Yeah, that I heard. Okay. Because I mean, yeah, that's that. Okay, so you left there And you
hmm
went straight back into, or you went straight to industry from there?
I actually was that's where I actually started working for the nonprofit Latinas in
Oh,
STEM a couple
okay.
months afterwards. And so, at this point, I get to actually tap into basically trying to reach the whole country because it's a national organization of trying to get, Latinas interested and retaining them in STEM. Because as I like saw while teaching, um, and is the problem I would say in most schools is that, it's very hard to retain students
Yeah,
in a major and then obviously like graduate and such. Um, and the same thing you can see just like, for example, with STEM. Uh, and it also made me reflect like, I don't ever want to leave STEM. I'm still here. I'm just not in the traditional academic or industry space.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, and then obviously, I think I mentioned this last time, the fires hit here in Southern California.
yes.
Um, yeah. And so it just happened to be that, I met the right person at the right time. And now I'm, helping her kind of slightly like expand her business of kind of like soil health.
Yeah.
uh, you know, yeah. And so
So,
now, right now, we're helping out families that have been impacted by the fire. So that's
I
really good.
well, I think because I happen to know that you are correct. It's really hard to keep minorities in STEM precisely because of situations like what you talked about. Um, it's like they don't feel welcome. They don't feel like their abilities are appreciated. There's like this double proving thing, right?
Yes.
And it's like, it's one thing for you to prove that what you're saying is true, but it's another thing to have to prove it because you're black or you're Latino or you're
hmm
Latina or you're Hispanic or you're Asian or you're Indian or whatever it is. And there that over and I mean it's a microaggression, and it's couched in these very, I want to say secretive, but that's not the right term. I can't think of like what the right term is. Ways in which you find yourself like answering the question or you find yourself doing the things. And then it's only later on when you're going, wait a minute, like what was that? Right.
Yeah.
Um, that can be just very, it's exhausting.
Yeah. I was feeling very exhausted. And I thought, I don't think it should, like, a job should be this exhausting.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I handled like, doing a PhD where we had to like work 6 days a week for like, 10 to 12 hours a day. And I was like, I was exhausted then, but I was like, I'm working a lot less. I shouldn't be more exhausted,
Mhm.
and emotionally like drained, at the end of the day. Or at the,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally understand that. I hear that. I agree. It's just, I think what, I hope people are walking away with is like I want to say the everyday kind of struggle that a person of color has to deal with, whether they're a faculty member, whether they're an employee, whether they're a student. Like this is consistent across the board, and
Mhm.
there should be. My husband hates when I should. He doesn't like it. Um, but I will say, it is my belief that we can do better. And colleges, schools, nonprofits, universities, all the corporations can be aware that these issues are still prevalent out there. The microaggressions, the double proving, for women, there's this whole other thing that happens
Yeah.
in the workplace that are still there, especially
hmm
if when and if we're since we are talking about the world of STEM. It's exhausting. for your high achievers, high performers, or regular old workers to have to walk into a building every day where they know they're going to get questioned, and the question isn't, isn't just the relevant, work question. There's always something else behind it, and you know it
Mhm.
when you hear it. Like you
Yeah.
know it when you hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, I'll miss that. So,
Yeah.
and I'll miss it.
Yeah. But I think like another takeaway is that, it's a hard decision to decide to like leave I would call like a stable job.
Hmm.
Um, but if like, we deserve better. We
Hmm.
deserve to be appreciated.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I like, we shouldn't be afraid to, leave a place that, we're not appreciated. Because there are places and people that appreciate us, like all of us, and our unique perspectives and experiences where our experiences are validated. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you said it best earlier when you said, I deserve better. And that, like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes to that. Wholeheartedly. Okay. So again, if people are looking for you, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, which, if you just Google, it's Dr. Daisy Rosas Vargas. Um, it'll show up. It's a Wix website, and you can find me on social media, on Instagram, Blue Sky, I think on Threads too, at Dr. Rosas V. Um, and I'll be there.
Okay. So, oh, this is the question I didn't ask. What
Oh,
was your dissertation on?
ah, uh, I can't remember the title of it. It's been so long.
Mhm.
My dissertation was on uh, uh, it's so funny. Been so long since I've like detached myself from it that like the research and like how to explain it hasn't come up as a question where I'm like, what did I used to say before? I was working on trying to make a enantioselective reductive Heck reaction. So I was trying to make carbon-carbon bonds, um, and to make carbon-carbon-carbon bonds using a metal called palladium. And when palladium has like a certain like attachment to it, um, it can influence the type of carbon bond that is made. So a lot of molecules exist or can exist in two forms, right-handed and left-handed. And sometimes chemists want to make molecules that are only left-handed, and you don't want right-handed ones. And this is really important later on when people are working on like medicinal chemistry or like working on potential, drugs, vaccines, where it's maybe only the one version of the molecule that's, let's say left-handed is the one that's actually doing the work. And it
Mhm.
could be that if you introduce the right-handed version, it could be the opposite. It could actually be causing more harm or actually not doing anything at all.
Okay.
So it's really important to find ways to create, just left-handed molecules or just right-handed molecules. And so mine was how can I use um, palladium to make a specific type of handed molecule.
Wow. I'm intrigued again. Oh, like you have my nerd meter just going off. Right. Okay. Okay. And then I guess, so did you publish?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was able to publish one paper during my PhD, even though I worked on like, multitude of different projects that, never saw the light of a computer screen. They just live in
Heard.
a lab notebook.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. Um, Okay, so I guess the end of this would be the following question. Um, and it is your life up to now. Um, what has been the biggest lesson?
I don't know if it's a, I guess it's a lesson, but the being flexible, like being able to, if I have to pivot for some reason, um, to uh embrace that. And it's very surprising because in that I like there always comes like this imposter syndrome, but then I'm like, oh, I am actually very capable of this. Where like if you asked me, I don't know, we're in what, November? If you asked me back in like November of last year, I would have been like, no, I couldn't even possibly imagine myself being, you know, doing soil science right now, from like the chemistry perspective. But now I'm like, oh, I am very capable of this. Um,
Well, life has a way of teaching you things in the most unexpected way that turns out to be a blessing.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So, you guys, this is the conclusion of our time together. Oof. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this, and I want to again thank you for giving of your time today.
hmm
Um, I think it's really important that people understand what it's like to be us. And
Yes.
you gave a really nice account of like what it's like to just be living during that time actually, but like all of the things that you had to overcome in order to be you
Yeah.
in that space. It's really
Yeah.
important. So I really do thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the space to share that.
You're welcome. Okay, you guys, so that concludes today's episode of Stemming in Stilettos. Um, you guys know that I always try to bring you guests who are going to who's going to introduce you to something new, teach you from a different perspective, or bring their whole selves to an interview. And I think Dr. Daisy did that today. So again, she's also giving you her contact information. So if you want to reach out to her, again, it'll be in the show notes. So you should actually read the show notes. I always tell people you got to read the show
Yeah.
notes. Okay. So until we meet again, everybody, keep yourselves safe.